Given the choice, I think a lot of ADHDers would ask for more friends, if not better friends. And sometimes it can feel like ADHD is actively pushing friendships away. Needless to say, ADHDers can struggle to maintain friendships. In this video, I'm going to show you how we can actively craft better and stronger friendships with ADHD. If you're new, my name's Chris. I help fellow ultra-normal brains focus, grow, and get stuff done. So with ADHD, we can struggle with getting bored, being inconsistent, forgetting important details, being sensitive to rejection, talking over people, feeling overwhelmed with friendships. And the stress of trying to manage friendships with ADHD can lead to ping-ponging between hyper-focusing on new friendships or completely withdrawing and isolating ourselves. And that's a real problem because as human beings, we need interaction. We need to be social. We are social animals. And a lot of ADHDers that I know can end up feeling pretty lonely. ADHD can leave us feeling isolated, like we have to withdraw, we have to pull away from people. The US Surgeon General equates loneliness with the health risks of smoking. And a fairly recent report from them shows that loneliness increases the risk of premature death by up to 30%. So friendships are not just important, they're vital. So with that being said, how as ADHDers can we maintain friendships? Well, the first thing that we can do is we can put self-care first. Sleep, diet, and exercise are the foundation of everything, especially relationships. And the way that it relates to ADHD is that if we struggle with these three things, then our ADHD symptoms actually get worse. Sleep, diet, and exercise impacts emotions massively. And emotions affect the way that you interpret others, interpret other people's actions. So sometimes when we see people doing certain things, if we have dysregulated emotions, which we can suffer with ADHD, we can interpret those actions as something negative, as something personal, and it can impact us and impact the friendship as well. So if we look after them, we'll have the best foundation for building friendships upon. The next thing we can do is just be aware of the obstacles of ADHD. Recognizing challenges enables us to do something about it, and therefore managing our friendships. And it's very, very empowering. There's nothing more empowering than being able to recognize the things that you struggle with, because it means actively being able to work on those things and being able to make changes, whether it's environmental, whether it's lifestyle, whatever it is. It can be very easy to put our head in the sand. But once we are aware of our own obstacles, the better we can manage other people's expectations of us. It helps them to understand why you may be late to things, why sometimes you can drop off the face of the earth and not reply to text messages, all these sort of things, but in a way that's proactive, not reactive. So what I mean by that is it's important to get ahead of telling people how your brain works and doing it before those events happen. Because if you're explaining yourself after, then it can come across like you're trying to excuse yourself, which can cause a lot of damage to friendships. So for example, let's say you forgot someone's birthday and they're upset. Then you jump in and start to explain that it's because you have ADHD and you forget things sometimes. That can come across like it's an excuse and they're not really going to want to hear it in that moment. So it's really important to get ahead of it. And I know that this can be a struggle to do. No one likes to be vulnerable and share the challenges that they have, but it's really important to do. The more vulnerable we are and the more we're able to preemptively open up with people, the stronger that friendships become. But it's really important to understand that having these challenges doesn't get us off the hook for not doing things or not working on these things. We can proactively tell people that we occasionally may be late, but also show that we are actively working on it. This isn't an excuse for us to simply do whatever we want and then say, oh, well, I have ADHD. It doesn't get us off the hook. Sometimes we can find friendships so challenging that we can think that it's better off that we're alone. And I actually addressed that in a video, which I'll link to above. But to touch on that, it's important to step back from minute to minute moments and just recognize the value of other people in our lives. No person is an island. And we are fooling ourselves if we think that we can simply wander this earth without having to interact with other people. Friendships are fulfilling. Friendships are support. And when you get into the right rhythm of them, they're very rewarding for both parties. So recognize the value of building and maintaining strong friendships. They enrich our lives. Life is always better with friends around. They help us be a part of a bigger cause. So in recognizing the value that friendships bring, we need to then ask ourselves, what value are we willing to give in order to maintain that? What are we willing to give in order to create good friendships? Providing value from both sides. So it's important that we also recognize that we need to provide value at the same time. In order to provide value to other people, there's lots of things that we can do. The main thing is that we can ask questions. Asking questions to people is something that everyone enjoys. The opportunity to be able to talk about what they're interested in. And I know with ADHD, it can be easy to lose interest sometimes in when people are speaking or get bored of what they're wanting to talk about, and we can switch off when they speak. But in asking questions, we're able to find something new about them. We're able to find the interest and find that spark and maintain that spark. The more questions and interest we take in other people, the more value we give to them because they're able to talk about their interests, and the more value we're able to take from them because we can learn something new and find something new and interesting about that same person. You could ask their opinion on something that you're interested in. These are all opportunities to be able to align with people on stuff that you're both interested in. The more questions you ask, the more interest you take, the more you can develop and build those friendships. Put in the effort to find out more about them in order to spark the interest within yourself and within them as well. Communication is something that we work on with ultra-normal members. And if you're ready to take the next step on your focus journey, then join us on the free focus bootcamp, which I will link to in the description down below. We can also schedule time in to nurture relationships. We do struggle with time blindness. We can lose track of time. We can have a reduced perception of time. And this can mean that friendships can lapse really easily. We can go for months without talking to people. And when those friendships lapse, then it can also lead to us worrying about reaching out to them in the future because we're worried about that rejection from them. So this can mean that we miss out on really good friendships. So it's really important to schedule in regular times to catch up. If you think about it, if you're in a romantic relationship, you schedule a regular date night in order to keep that spark going. And there's no reason why we shouldn't do that for friendships as well. Schedule in regular time, whether it's to talk on the phone or whether it's to meet up in person, in order to maintain those friendships. It could even be as simple as marking on your calendar once every couple of weeks to text and check in to make sure that they're okay. And when it comes to communication, it's not just about a matter of knowing that we should ask questions. It's important to practice those communication skills. ADHD means that we can be really overly talkative, but it's really important to develop and practice communication skills. Things like active listening, asking questions, pausing. These are all just skills that we can develop. Sometimes we think, well, I have ADHD, so this is just what I do. But we can change our natural default by practicing and rewiring our brain so that we can naturally pause, we can naturally ask questions, we can naturally actively listen in conversations. And again, these skills give back to other people. They help us build friendships which provide us with value, but they also give value to other people. The more value you give to others, the more that you get in return. And in order to practice those communication skills, simply practice them in low-stakes situations every day. You can practice active listening with the local supermarket checkout clerk, or the next time you see the mailman in the street, start up a conversation, start asking questions. These are simple things that can be practiced and developed. And then soon enough, it becomes part of our second nature. And if you do want to learn more about active listening, then I've got a video for it right here. As ADHDers, we can sometimes think that the more friends we have, the more likely that we are of having a good one. But often that can lead to us having a lot of very shallow acquaintances rather than friends. In order to keep quality over quantity, just keep small, maintained friendships. ADHD can make us feel spread thin. If you think of 50 people that you have to check in with, it can feel like there's no time in the day in order to be able to maintain all of those friendships, and it overwhelms us. When it comes to social media, we can see follow accounts of other people, and we can compare it to ours, and we can feel like we're missing out. We're missing out on all of these valuable friendships. And then we can default to thinking that we have worse friendships than other people. But it's important to remember that numbers don't reflect relationships. Don't worry about quantity, work on the quality of them. You could keep a list of 3 or 4 people that you want to maintain friendships with weekly and start scheduling in that time regularly in order to maintain those friendships. And then you could have a second list of people to check in with every few months. And again, schedule it in to check in with them. Sticking to small quality friendships reduces that overwhelm. It stops us from feeling like we have to spin all of these plates. And it's easier for us to maintain a small number. Next thing is going to be a bit controversial, but keep notes on friends. So I know that this sounds kind of weird and kind of creepy, but it's actually a really thoughtful system. Keeping basic notes on other people, interests, opinion, values, and struggles is really helpful for us to build and maintain those relationships. As we externalize these things, as we externalize information about people, the more it sticks it in our mind. So in keeping notes, it helps us to keep those important facts in our long-term memory. And the next time you meet up with them, worst comes to the worst, if you're having a struggle or a bad day, then you can simply refer back to your notes in order to remember what you spoke about last time so that you can bring it up again and check in with them. And again, I understand that some people may find this creepy or weird, but This isn't about keeping tabs on lies or times that they've hurt you. This is not about petty small things or keeping score. This is simply a matter of keeping note of important things so that you can provide value back to your friendships. And it's actually very powerful, because what it means is that you are acknowledging the challenges that you have and you're taking systematic steps to address it in order to maintain and develop a friendship with somebody else. And most importantly, as ADHDers, we can struggle with self-esteem quite a lot. Our past can sometimes come back to haunt us, just as children in general, but ADHDers in particular. We can be called lazy and unmotivated. We can be told that we are not going to achieve the things that we should be achieving. And these things can stick with us. And it impacts our self-esteem. And this can mean that we can interpret other people's actions, friendships, relationships, as negative, even when it's not meant as negative. And this can cause a block in connecting to other people, which means that we can reach out less to them, maybe not send a text message because we think that they're annoyed with us. And a lot of this can all culminate in what's known as rejection sensitive dysphoria. And if you want to do a deep dive into that, then I've made a whole video on it right here, which I will leave you with. I'll see you over there.